Hi, sir.
Hi.
Firstly, congratulations on your new house.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I'm so glad your house is looking the way it is today.
Yeah,
And
a lot has to do with what you guys did
yeah,
as well. Uh, Played a very important role.
yeah. And we really like this opportunity that you put on us. And whatever we did in the last couple of months to bring this house the way, to make it look the way it is. And of course, you've been a great support. You've constantly involved in the project right from the day one. I know we took some time because there was a different property that we were supposed to design,
Correct.
and we came back to Century Ethos. And now, I'm really glad the way this project is shaped. And actually, we were kind of not very clear about the vision that you had, but now after the completion of the project, I can now sync with you on the thought that you had for your house. You know, and firstly, how did you find us? Like, what made you go for Interio Rabbit?
Yeah, that's a very interesting story. So I actually, uh, I w- so once I decided I want to buy a house, I've always had this in my mind that I need to, have the right interior design team
Right,
to help me, you know, kind of set up the house, right? And it has to also be a sort of, um, it has to meet with what I believe is a perfect combination of aesthetics and functionality,
right,
right?
right,
And I've of course I've traveled a lot on work, so I've always been very impressed with how they actually organize and set up hotel rooms,
right,
right? Especially some of the really nice hotels that you go to, in very small space they make the whole room extremely functionally very useful,
right,
and at the same time beautiful aesthetically, right?
right,
So that has always appealed to me, and whenever I've gone on holidays also, I've always kind of kept certain things in my mind, about how I want the look and all that. So I immediately, the moment I decided to buy a house, I googled to check uh, which is the best interior design company in Bangalore,
right.
right? And as luck would have it, I said interior
Okay.
design,
Yeah.
and then the
Interio Rabbit showed
first,
up.
and that's a very smart thing you guys have done because anybody who Googles
Yeah.
your thing will come
Yeah.
up first. And when it came up, I quickly looked at your. I
Yeah.
always look at who the people are behind the company
Right,
first.
right, right,
So I saw this young guy. I'm like, yeah, this guy seems interesting. And then I quickly looked at some snippets of the work you've done,
right, right,
and of course you don't have, I didn't look at the detailed pictures and all that. I just looked at a few things, and there was a visual of a bedroom, there
right,
was a visual, I think, of a living room, and I said, wow, this looks really nice.
right.
So I need to speak to this guy, and that's when I called
Yeah,
you on
yeah,
my way
yeah.
to office
Right,
in the
right, right.
morning.
And we had a quick conversation and said we'll connect back. And
Yes,
a second thing, we know you have come to office.
correct.
And then we had at least a 2 hour discussion on this whole project.
Yeah.
And that was actually the icebreaker per se. And we exchanged a lot of thoughts that day in
Correct. Yeah.
office. And we understood your color palettes, your schemes, you know. And second most important thing was we didn't know that you didn't like the modern aspect of designing an apartment. You know, for us it wasn't a mundane thing that we were going to do for you, because you made us go back in time, okay, think a little out of the box, mix cultures to design your house. And that thought process actually was working for both of us,
Correct.
right? It basically, you know, we came up with the mood board, and at the mood board we actually, got a sense of what exactly you need. There you rejected a lot of modern elements, you know,
Correct. I remember. Yeah.
and that basically gave us your preferences per se when it comes to what kind of furniture you want in your house. And you didn't want to basically, kind of fill it up,
Correct.
with a lot of artifacts or furniture which is really modern and that kind of stuff was something that was far away from the thought process that we generally have. So every time we actually look at an apartment, you know that. So we went really deep into the conversation
Correct.
on the number of people that you live with, your wife, your kids, your mother, what kind of people live in your house, how do you use your kitchen. That is one, and in all these conversations it was always said to us that I want a completely functional house.
Yeah.
I'm going to live in that house and I want these elements to be sort of, designed in a certain way, because I've been using this over a lot of time. And you also mentioned to us about your, old furniture which you want to carry forward, because that was something that has been in your house.
Yeah. The one you're sitting on.
Yeah, this is the one I'm sitting on. I mean, it's a great piece of furniture. So you wanted to refurbish them and use it in your new house. I mean, most interior design companies would not agree for that, but we are not one among those most interior design companies. We always think out of the box, as you know. And we wanted to do that.
Correct.
We were always supportive of that idea, because we speak a lot about sustainability today, and we speak a lot about depleting ecosystems and how we can contribute, even a small inch of contribution for this kind of a global problem. It makes a lot of difference.
Sure, yeah.
I'm sure you'll agree with me.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah, the first thing I actually really liked about the way you went about the entire process of the concept design
Yeah.
was, it actually was born out of a lot of conversation.
Right. Of course.
I have worked with a couple of interior designers earlier.
I'm sure.
And they, I sense that they were more interested in the in showing their designs and creativity, and they would almost impose their will
Design
on
on
you.
the throat.
Yeah. But I like the way you particularly right at the beginning had very detailed interaction with me on the end use
Exactly.
and how I visualize my house,
Exactly.
rather than how
Yeah.
you would want it to be.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
And I remember even telling you that I have two sons who
Yeah.
who are into sports and
Right.
all that. And so I think that conversation probably kind of sort of went a long way in you trying to understand, like you said, my vision and my
Right.
thought process.
Exactly.
Because ultimately, I'm going to live here and I want to look at this house every day and feel that I've done a fabulous job.
Exactly.
Not I have done a fabulous job. I have
All of
got
us, all of us, collectively.
I've got a team of people who have really helped me, bring to fruition
Right.
what I had in my mind.
Right.
And my boys and everybody will tell you that I have actually very regularly posted pictures of this house
Okay.
as it was being developed.
Oh, nice.
To my very close,
Okay.
of course, my family members, my sister, and a couple of friends and all that, just to show them how, things are kind of evolving and developing.
Right.
And everyone's really liked, in fact, my niece, my niece actually calls me Lux Mama. Why? Because she says, every corner of this house looks. She's
Oh,
only 9,
nice,
and she
nice.
says it looks bordering on very stylish and very
Nice.
classy,
Nice.
right? So, and she's just all of 9.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, they all love the way things have kind of
Shaped up.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think you guys are very different, particularly you is and I've said this to you as well. I think
Yeah.
you're more interested in listening to what the client wants
Exactly. Yeah.
rather than telling him what
True.
or what he should have, right?
True. True. True.
And that gives I have to tell you this, that's a very excellent strategy, because it gives the person a feeling, of course, of somebody who's willing to hear you.
Right.
Secondly, he is telling you that nothing is off the table.
Correct.
You understand?
Correct. Correct.
a lot of times, even when you deal with carpenters,
Right.
they will impose their will on you on how the nut should go in, how the nail should go in, right?
Right.
And it's very frustrating.
True.
I think in your case, uh, you know, to really summarize what the best part about dealing with you was that I think with you, nothing was ever off the table
Right.
in terms of design,
Correct. Correct.
in
Correct.
terms of you know uh, what the client would want,
Right.
right?
Right.
And you would never, for instance, rubbish or dismiss
Exactly.
anything.
True.
That listen, this is not part of how we
Yeah.
how we are visualizing this house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you rightly said, it's a perfect mix of the old and the new,
True.
which is how I actually see my house, right?
Yeah. I mean, most architects, I'm sure. I mean, people don't know who you are. I think it's a little bit about yourself, so that they know exactly what kind of people you deal with in your day-to-day life, and how we are also one of those people,
Yes.
and still made a cut above the rest. When as compared to most of the people who are far more superior to us in terms of the kind of business we do. So, I mean, you should tell about yourself. What do you
No, so
do?
I've been in retail for almost 25 years, 26 years, since 1999. Actually, 25 years, a little over 25 years, and so I'm actually a postgraduate from National Institute of Fashion Technology, Delhi, and
Wow.
I've done my masters in marketing management. But through that, of course, I was exposed extensively to design,
Right.
right? Being in NIFT.
Right.
And then of course I went into retail. I started off with a lifestyle company called Lacoste, where I was essentially exposed to international retail formats, right?
Right.
And that is where I really took to designing retail stores, uh, and that was the time when all these brands were coming into India, right?
Right.
All the
Right.
international brands like Lacoste, Swatch,
Right.
Calvin Klein. So I was
Absolutely.
at a very initial stage of my career. I was involved in dealing with architects, dealing with interior design teams,
Right.
but for
Retail
retail
brands.
brands and retail stores, right?
Correct.
So I had a very good understanding of what the process entails in creating a design concept, and then how do you actually go about executing it.
Right.
So this has been my bread and butter, interacting with architects,
I'm sure.
project teams,
I'm sure.
project planning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've basically done that, and of course I've even had the good fortune of working with very sort of accomplished people,
Right.
like in PVR, with the senior most people there,
Right.
when they were designing the most advanced and most luxurious of their multiplexes.
Right. Right.
I was part of the first IMAX project in India,
Right. Right.
the 3D IMAX. So yeah, that all that exposure, of course, made me understand what it really entails.
I mean, we have also learned a lot from you. I mean, when we
I
were
really
working,
appreciate you saying
yeah,
that. Yeah.
when we were working, and I've been telling my boys also, when uh, you say something, there is a lot of thought behind that particular statement, and we cannot take that statement for granted. It has to be taken in the literal sense, right? So when I say that, if you have assigned a certain thing, you may be wrong or you may be right, but there is always a healthy conversation between the two of us.
Yeah.
We have had healthy conversations regarding a certain elements of the house or a certain product that we used. And I'm sure we had a great conversation when it came to aluminium and MS, and what are those difference. I mean, that was a very long conversation that we had. I mean, those anecdotes basically, take us a long way,
Yeah.
rather than, just sticking to the job. Sir, I'm assigned to do to run from point A to point B, and I'm going to stick to that. That was not the case with the two of us, right?
Absolutely.
So we did a lot of things. We improvised while we were working on the site. And in terms of quality, I've given you a lot of assurance. And how was your experience when you visited our factory for the first time?
No, like I said earlier as well, I think for me the best part of all interactions with you is that nothing is ever off the table, right?
Correct. Correct.
And therefore, even if there were disagreements between us, I mean, and when I say disagreements, it's basically um, you know differences in terms of how, or maybe me trying to kind of give you a sense of how I'm thinking about a certain element,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
I think the one word that comes to my mind when in dealing with you is the highest degree of receptivity.
Right.
For me, and I've told this to my boys as well, that in working with you, I have always had this uh, impression that if I tell you something, that this is what I have in my mind, you will find a way to
Yeah. Get it done.
not just get it done, but also you will find a way to produce it in front of me,
Correct.
and give me options like, this
Yeah.
is how
These
it
are.
will
This
be,
is what it
this
will
is
be.
this is how it can look, right, and this is how it will look. So for me, and I think there were instances in the kitchen once and a couple of other areas where you've been open to
Yeah.
rework
Right.
actually. So there is a sense of self assurance
Right.
in dealing with you,
Right.
somebody
Right.
like you. So
Right.
that for me was the greatest experience, but I forget what your question was specifically.
This your experience of coming to the factory,
Ah,
to the touch and
oh yeah,
feel,
yeah, yeah. I think
the machines
oh
that we
yeah.
used,
So I
and
think I did not expect, when you kept saying factory, I
yeah.
thought it will be some ramshackle, kind of a place where there are people, carpenters working and hammering away to glory. When I actually went there, I saw that this is a state of the art
Yeah.
facility
Yeah.
with state of the art machines
Right.
producing absolutely top class, uh, you know, um, pieces of furniture,
Right.
right? Like cupboards, particularly the wardrobes, for instance, the finish of the wardrobes,
Yeah.
um, and the precision with which they were making that, even
Correct.
the kitchen modular, fixtures.
True.
I think really top class, state of the art. For me, that was the first, because I mean, I have to admit, um, I did not think that, you know, I thought those were all those factories, and these machines were only used to produce furniture fixtures for retail formats.
Ha.
I did not think that they were actually now being used for homes as well.
Homes as well. Yeah.
In my head, homes were still being done by carpenters on site, right?
Right. So there's a
So
lot of difference, sir. I mean,
things have come a long way.
yeah, yeah. Things have come a long way. Times have evolved,
Yeah.
and so is the technology, right?
Yes.
And like I told you while we were having a lot of discussions, that we're very particular about the kind of machines we use.
Yeah.
It has to be an Italian machine.
Yeah.
Your material has to be processed. It comes at a cost because it is expensive to get it processed, because the amount of investment which goes in having those machines is really high. And every year there is a new technology. Every
True.
6 months there is a new patent being filed. And for us to maintain that kind of quality, again, for us also it took a lot of time. When I say it took a lot of time, after so many years we kind of zeroed down on, this is the quality that I want to give my customer. Even if I don't make money, or even if I don't do good business, I really don't care, because I'm building a brand right now. So in that kind of scenarios, it was, when you came to the factory, we spoke about the edge band,
Correct.
the 4 processes or 5 processes that the edge band machine had, and how precisely those functions basically gave us good quality, and how we did the mock-up for you before
Correct.
it was moved to the site, and how it was packed neatly, corrugated sheets,
Oh
bubble
yes,
wraps.
that is something I can't stress enough and emphasize enough. I think just the quality of um, execution at every
Right.
step of the way
Right.
was really very very sort of reassuring.
Right. Right.
And you constantly felt that things are really taking shape,
Yeah.
and not only are they taking shape, but they will end up, in terms of quality of execution, they will end up uh, you know to be really what you want,
Right.
right?
Right.
And you were constantly sure that
No, it
Nothing would be substandard.
starts from even before we start. So,
Yeah.
like for example, you saw us protecting your floor.
Correct.
It's an Italian marble.
Yes.
Whether it is me, whether it is you or the builder, they would have put so much of effort in putting that flooring.
Yeah.
Now imagine, your carpenters drop some heavy tools like hammer or something of that sort, and it cracks or breaks.
Yeah.
It takes a lot more effort to fix that
Yeah.
than protecting it.
Yeah.
So we will be very precautious about your particular stuff, because I'm going to take care of this house for the next 60 days or so. So in that case, how much can I protect it? Right? That becomes essential. And you also know that we had an engineer who's on spot from
Yes.
morning till evening, irrespective. He didn't assign work to the team and leave.
Correct.
He was constantly monitoring your work, and that is the kind of dedication that the team also has.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we make sure that we give you that kind of quality, and that is what we stand for, right? Until you start working with us, until you start interacting with us, there's hardly that relationship starts building there. And slowly you'll get to know, yes, these guys are actually committed to what they're doing, and
Yeah.
things like that. Of course, we've had long conversations about products, right? And I'm sure I've given you the kind of insight about each and every product. Whatever queries that you had about your hardware, maybe the paint selection, lighting, polish.
Sure.
So all of this, again, for us, it came with experience.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like we just started off one day and all this knowledge just imbibed in us and we started imparting it to people. But I'm glad that you asked so many questions and understood what is the reason behind using these products. Like for example, the pocket doors is something very unique. Not many houses or many apartments will have as a technology per se, right? So a lot of people don't even know. If you ask a local carpenter, he may not be able to tell you what a pocket door is.
Correct.
Right? How can you basically cover the pockets? I mean, put a door inside a pocket is something that he will not know. And so we have also used some air hinges in your house. Air hinges is again a very new technology. It is slightly on the expensive side, but whenever we use it, it is worth using it.
Yeah.
Unless now, when you go for a luxury brand of, let's say, vehicles, so they are expensive because they have that kind of precision in the work.
True.
That has gone inside making that car.
Yeah.
And so are we. So all of these aspects, I really like the way you took it.
No, I have to tell you this, that and I've said this the other day. I was telling my wife also about this, that this whole process has been very enjoyable.
Yeah. I'm glad.
Absolutely enjoyable, and it's not even, you see, it's not work, right?
Right.
So at work you feel you're learning a lot and things like that. I don't know if I'll build another house, but I'm saying the whole process for me was so enjoyable, and I used to look forward to the next step. And you could see that there were times when I was getting a little impatient as well.
Yeah.
And I was trying to. I even began to start at one point, telling you how the project should be managed and stuff like that. And you said, listen, what did you say? You said, I don't want you to micromanage. I want you to tell us what you want, and we'll get that done. So you don't need to worry. So why I was getting, I guess, impatient was I wanted to see the next step.
Right.
I wanted to see, okay, today this is looking like this. How is it going to turn out? Next is what I was very keen and curious to know.
I could sense that actually.
Yeah. So there was a lot of impatience also, I guess.
And the kind of enthusiasm you had about the house. I mean, you guys should know that I've never met your wife.
You've not, yeah.
And in this industry, ironically, the most decision makers are women.
Yeah. And she was missing throughout.
And she was not part of any conversation, any discussions. And she's actually got a very good product, by the way. The way your kitchen has shaped out, each and every element or appliance, it's a very functional kitchen. It's not a very fancy kitchen. It is a fancy kitchen. At the same time, it is very functional.
Very functional, yeah.
Because like I even told you while we are having these conversations, that I want you to tell me, how do you cook? What kind of cooking do you do? Do you prefer your cutlery to be on your right? Do you like it in the center, or do you like it on the left? Because modular per se is all based on thumb rules.
Correct.
Right? So if I want to make a cabinet, the cabinet size either starts from 450, moves to 600, then you have a larger size which is 900.
Yeah.
So in this, how much more functional can I make it for you?
Correct.
Right?
I think although that particular, coincidentally, as luck would have it, that particular meeting where we were discussing the kitchen design,
Yeah.
my wife actually came
Oh,
to your
really?
office.
Oh.
And Nitish was,
Okay.
showing me.
Okay.
And interestingly, she was the one who brought up I assumed that there is piped gas in this house.
Huh.
And I didn't realize, I didn't even ask the question and have a discussion around, that there is no piped gas, and, we will need to actually have a cylinder. And she was the one who actually, that credit I have to give to her.
Right.
The rest I'll take for myself. But she actually said, "No, you don't have piped gas here, you have cylinders here. So you will need to keep a place for a cylinder, and this is how it will have to be," and so on. So that, of course, was a very, very important intervention,
Right.
which she made.
Right.
A very timely intervention. But yes, I think in every house works differently, right? So the dynamics in my house are, I am the one who is actually always thinking design, always thinking, ergonomics, and how the layout of the house should be, how the furniture should be.
Right.
For some reason, I am the one who actually has always done that.
Okay.
So in fact, she keeps saying to me that, in any case, you love this and you are really good at this. So I don't really see too much of a sort of input of being given from my side. So that way, every single one of these things that you see here, coincidentally, are pretty much my input. And I don't say that out of ego or anything. It's basically probably that I'm actually very interested. That's why I was saying, the whole interaction with you and the whole process,
Right.
for me, has been very enjoyable.
Right.
And I used to keep, for me, it's very easy to sort of get to a point where a disagreement can lead to a break.
Right.
Right? But it never happened with you. I don't know, it might have happened.
Yeah.
It might have happened if it was somebody else.
Right.
So there, I think, and I've said this to you as well, that the way you go about a project, your temperament, really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
I'm glad. I'm really glad, and the way this whole dynamics of both of us churned out well. And then your kids came in, Arnav came in, and he started giving some of his inputs again based on functional stuff, on how functional it should be and things like that. And when you have grown-up kids, it is very important to take their views, because it slowly starts, to hit on the discomfort. Right? So if they are adults, the way they use their bedroom is totally different to a kid, right? A school-going kid, for that matter. So that kind of inputs we actually take. We take each and everybody's input and make sure that they like to stay in the house. Like you even mentioned about how other architects try to stuff the design on your throat. What I believe is that ultimately it is you who's going to stay in the house. You need to be more comfortable.
Absolutely.
Unless you open up to me and tell me that if you make this is what I will be more comfortable. I don't think I will be able to give you the right solution.
Absolutely.
Right? So, I mean, this whole way of achieving the right kind of product. And there's of course, balance.
I think the way, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you.
No problem.
But I think the way you strike a balance between functionality and aesthetics,
Yeah.
uh, is actually a game changer for a, when in building a house or building a home.
Right.
And we've actually gone and visited some of the houses in
Yeah.
apartments in
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
on this floor, and kind of looked at some of the designs, and I'm like, yeah, it looks nice, but uh, from a functional point of view, does this have enough storage? House have enough storage? Is this really functionally optimal? Right? I think there, the way you've kind of um, understood, um, the client's need for the perfect balance between functionality and aesthetics is really very commendable. I mean, even if you look at the way the TV cabinet has come up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think even in your team,
Yeah.
uh, the designers initially designed it in a certain way,
Yeah.
but when I said no, this is not what I'm looking at,
Yeah.
I think you stepped in at the right time and you quickly said, listen, I think the way he wants it is this, so
Yeah.
this is how it should be, right?
Correct. Correct.
So there, I think that's why I'm saying it's very important to be very receptive, and I think it
Understand.
comes from your confidence as well. I guess that
Mm.
anything is possible if you understand
Yeah.
the need of the client.
Exactly. I
You know,
believe in that. I purely believe in that, and
as long as the client is not asking for square wheels and things
yeah.
like that,
Yeah. Things like
wheels
that.
have to be round. Yeah. So you were talking about Vastu.
Yeah. So you told me that your dad is a big believer in Vastu, and you are not, and you don't believe in. And we had this half an hour, 30-minute conversation about how Vastu may not be very essential, but it can actually change the dynamics of your house in terms of positioning, the movement of the sun,
Yeah.
and why you chose this apartment. That was a very interesting conversation. You actually monitored the movement of the sun
Correct.
and why the sun's rays was important for you,
Correct.
and in what direction it travels throughout the day, and what part of the day the sun basically sets, and what direction it is to your house. That discussion was very
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, I had a really good
So,
conversation with you that day.
by the way, my father was not a believer in Vastu, as it is understood, universally.
Right.
So my understanding of Vastu is entirely
Different.
borrowed from him.
Oh, okay.
Basically, his take on Vastu is that people become extremely superstitious, and they can go to the extent of absurdity
Right.
in adhering to Vastu. If they understood Vastu correctly, they would probably not do a lot of things that they do. Is what he actually imbibed, or rather, I imbibed from him, um, because he was basically a man of science, and he explained Vastu to me from a very scientific perspective,
Right.
and that is my understanding of Vastu. It's not about, in this square you should have water here, and so people will build a house, and in one room they would only have an earthen pot with water,
Right.
because they made a mistake in the design and they want to correct it by you
Right.
know fixing Vastu. His view take was, and that's what my take was always, that basically the guiding principle of Vastu is that of a human body, right? And so if every house cannot face a certain direction, right? If that was the case, then all houses would be replicas of each other
Right.
and facing only one side.
Correct.
There will be houses which have a south entrance, right? You can't avoid that. But if that is the case, then how do you make that work for yourself, right?
Right.
And there, I think I always kind of uh, I looked around a few houses here, and through the various houses that I've lived in, on in different cities that I've traveled to or stayed in, I used to always be very curious about, which angle this window should be. What is the direction of the sun, axis of the sun in the
Right.
summers? What is the axis of the sun in the winters? And I would always be very conscious of that. And here I realized that basically the windows are facing east and west,
West. Yeah.
right? So that was a very good thing from a start, as a starting point, because if your windows face the west, then the sunlight is going to come into your house for the longer part of the day, right?
Right.
um, because typically the sun comes to the at 12 o'clock, it's right on top, and then like that
Starts moving to the west.
starts moving to the west. And then if your windows are facing the west, then you will have great this thing.
Right.
Just 1 second, Aman. Is it okay if yeah. So
Thank you, ma.
so yeah, so I was looking at a house from that perspective, because you can't possibly, I dread the idea of buying a house where suddenly there is no ventilation and there is hardly any light, right? Of course, because this house is a fourth floor house, light is still a challenge. But the good part is that in winters, because the sun moves to the southern axis,
Right.
uh, I'm assured of a lot of light coming in from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the southern side. um, and it will be really nice to kind of enjoy the sunlight sitting in the balconies.
Right.
um,
That was
little
actually my
balconies.
first feedback to you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of natural light flowing into the house, and we're gonna use these characteristics of the house
Yeah.
in the design,
Yeah.
so that while the sun basically starts moving, you will actually start taking an advantage of that movement.
True.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the discussion
Yeah.
basically that we had initially.
Yeah.
And coming to Vastu, I mean, most builders today try to adhere to the dynamics of Vastu.
Right.
Placing your living room,
Yeah.
placement of your kitchen, your toilets, your master bedroom, your kids' bedroom. All of this was actually, planned really well by the builder himself.
And in this house, interestingly, I actually realized it later that this house is actually as close to the perfect Vastu as you can get to.
True.
I didn't realize that initially.
Yeah.
I was looking at, my focus and attention was on certain features
Right.
like sunlight, etc.
Right.
But it turns out that from a Vastu standpoint, the kitchen is actually in the southwestern quadrant,
Right.
southeastern quadrant.
Yeah.
The master bedroom is in the
Southwestern
southwestern
quadrant,
quadrant.
yes.
I didn't consciously look at all that. Like you
Right.
said, the problem with the, being a non-believer is that if somebody comes and says to you that the Vastu of this house that you're living in is bad, then you don't like it also. You can rubbish that person, but it stays in your mind.
Yeah.
You have to be extremely
I'm sure.
determined and stubborn about your belief system
Right.
to say this guy is talking nonsense, ignore it, right? So
Absolutely.
my father was like that actually. He insisted on having his kitchen in a certain direction because he said, because somebody came and told him the kitchen should not be in this. He said, okay, let me put the kitchen here and I will ensure that I will show you you are wrong. And he did it and he was perfectly fine. And that's when he made me understand actually. I just thought he was being stubborn and, purposely defiant, but I think he knew what he was talking about. So yeah, from a Vastu standpoint, I think I was never consciously aware of it or, bothered about it. It was just that it kind of all fell in place based on this movement of the sun and all that.
That actually, all these conversations were quite reminiscent for us.
Yeah.
In terms of whatever, from having long conversation. I think we had this ride back from the factory,
Yes.
and we also went to the hardware store.
True.
So Gala was the trusted hardware store for us, and they've been number one since.
That's another thing, by the way. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you again, but That's another thing I really enjoyed
Right.
and liked, was that you said, I want a day of yours
Yeah.
for certain selections. It would have been very easy for you to, kind of distance yourself from that. But
Yeah.
I think that sense of ownership, the ownership that you took, uh, about every single detail and how it is, kind of shaping up,
Right.
is something I really appreciate. It would have been very easy for you to leave it to me and your team and say, uh, and then give it a spin saying, yeah, this is the best thing.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that, we spent a good 3 hours
Yeah.
selecting the lights.
Yeah.
I think the lighting is one thing that
Yeah.
we always talked about,
Yeah.
and I said I don't want, a blast of light in the
Yeah.
house. Let's select specific number of
Yeah.
light fixtures, or certain types of light fixtures. So there, a lot of your involvement, then your involvement in selection of the laminates and the
Yeah.
cabinets,
Yeah.
colors, is really, I think, very, very crucial and important.
This I
Appreciate
keep
that.
telling most customers also, that unless involve in the process,
Yeah,
it will be very difficult for me to gauge your mindset,
correct,
right?
correct.
Or you can totally entrust it on us and allow us to take decisions,
Yeah,
and you not be part of it,
true.
which I feel is a bad idea,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So I might do 1,000 things for you and leave one day
Correct.
after I hand over the keys to you. Because my job is done that
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Of course, when you call me, I'll come back. Of course, if there is any maintenance or anything of that sort, I will come back to take care of it. But are you enjoying your place? Is what matters, right? Unless you realize that aspect, this whole process becomes very redundant,
Correct.
right? So you have to come with us.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to see the products. There are thousands and millions of products,
Options. Yeah.
options available out there.
True. True.
What will suit your design? What is best for your house?
Correct.
It can be an Indian product, it can be an imported product, and depending on your budgets,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So we went with Hetik and Hayflay for most of the hardware. Hetik was very minimal, but most of it was Hayflay and Blum. And we have used Hayflay for your home appliances as well. Nagold was the brand,
Right.
and we also had that conversation on whether it should be inbuilt or it should be exposed.
Correct. Correct.
That conversation was that went along for a very long time. And we went to the store and we had a long conversation on the hobs and chimneys per se.
Correct.
We also gave you an insight on how you should select your hob and chimney, whether it should be, how it should be mounted and things like that. There also there was a small Vastu angle where we told you that it should not be a 3 burner, it should always be a 4 burner,
Correct.
right? So all those aspects was what actually makes your house
True. True. Absolutely.
to what it is today,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So
And the other thing was also, another thing I really appreciate was you, stepping in and giving that additional, let's say, value added service of getting my sofas refurbished,
I'm glad. I'm so
and
glad.
also referring me to that,
Yeah.
to the, I forget the name, Fun World,
Yeah.
the team who
Right.
did the TV lounger
Right.
for
Right.
me. At the end of all this, I'm extremely proud of, I show this house to people very proudly,
Oh, I'm so
the
glad.
pictures, and
I'm so glad.
everyone's really impressed with how, you know pretty much single-handedly, I
Yeah.
mean, the way they see it, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's been a team of
Right. Right.
very talented designers behind this, but all my, of course, none of them have met you, right?
Right. Right. Right.
They 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 really sort of impressed with how I have, kind of got this end product
Right.
into fruition.
Right. Right.
And so they ask me, okay, who was your? So I tell them, listen, it's not me actually. There is a team of people who have.
Yeah.
There's Vishal and team who've done this. So basically, I'm pretty sure I'll recommend you guys to anybody who's who's
No,
doing up
we'll
their
be really
homes.
glad. I mean,
Yeah,
whether
yeah,
it is you or your customers, I mean,
absolutely.
your references are, absolutely dear to us, and we will make sure that the same process follows for everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
And only when you follow a certain processes, I'm sure you will know you've been managing. I mean, so many millions of square feet of retail spaces. I'm sure you will know what falls in place when you
yeah,
follow the
yeah, yeah.
processes, and we have grown strength to strength to get where we are, and we have followed a certain systems and processes.
Rigor in,
Yeah,
yeah,
so that it becomes error free,
correct.
right? That's what engineering is taught most of us, to basically break down problems into smaller problems and then solve it step by
Absolutely.
step
Yeah.
to get a greater solution, right? So that is something that we enjoyed working with you. I mean, right from the day one, I've told my boys you need to learn from you in terms of time management, and how particular you were on certain things being told to you.
ये रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है कि नहीं? क्या हो रहा है? Okay. So when the good things are said about me, I want to make sure that it is being recorded. Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I would like to I would like to have the final
yeah, absolutely, we'll give you that.
because I'm not even on Instagram, by the way.
Oh, really?
My boys are.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'll. My wife is also on Instagram. So if I get a final, huh?
Amma has no problem, sir.
Yeah, yeah, she's all set. Yeah, yeah, yes.
So you wanted to say something about the team?
Yeah, so I was just saying that I think for me it has been an extremely pleasurable experience. I've sort of seen people build their homes and get their interior works done, and for some reason a lot of them have always been very kind of, for want of a better word, they feel harassed about getting it done in time and getting it all done the way they want it. But for me it's been a really enjoyable experience,
I'm so
very
glad.
very enjoyable, uh, to the extent that I probably went a little over budget, getting
Yeah,
things that I wanted to have, but it's all, at the end of the day it's all there in a in terms, in a very tangible way, uh,
right,
to use for me. It's all you know kind of for the better. And yeah, I mean, as far as your team is concerned, I think Nitish and initially the two ladies, but particularly I think Nitish has been
yeah,
very very patient, very um, involved
right,
every step of the way, and he spent long hours uh,
true,
getting this whole project done. I think he stepped in at a time when um, he took over from two earlier designers, right?
right.
And he very seamlessly kind of
Transitioned into it.
transitioned into.
True,
Also, because I think he kept himself very close to this project,
right,
it was not very difficult for him to. It would have been very easy for him to say, "Oh, this I actually did not start with," which was the case a
right,
lot, which was the case. But he took ownership and responsibility for everything,
right,
and that I really appreciate immensely.
right.
Um, and of course, uh, you know, he took a lot of, uh, let's say, my I wouldn't call them mood swings, but my feedback of for certain things. So I mean, even Pradyum for that matter, although he was involved at the very end, but I think as a team, you guys are a very very receptive team to work with,
Right.
um, which is really um, a unique quality in a team. I hope you remain like this,
No, no, we
uh,
will. We will continue
because
to.
generally when businesses grow, uh, people tend to change. Also because you will probably take a sort of a distant uh, view, and that there will be more people coming into the team.
True.
They bring their own baggage, but I think the team that I have worked with is really very very dedicated, very and I'm saying this not to just sound good, but I think very dedicated team of people, very involved, people who took ownership, um, people who were ready to please.
Right.
You basically come out with a product that would please you. I know that even you have repeatedly asked, did you like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've asked my mother, me, did you like this?
Yeah.
Are you happy with the end
Correct.
product?
Correct.
So that, all that actually tells you that here is a team of people who are interested in the client's satisfaction and happiness more than anything else. That's, I think, to me, uh, the lasting sort of impression, or
Impression.
it'll remain in my uh,
No, those
mind.
are the principles that this brand is built on.
Yeah, yeah.
So it will continue to be the way it is, whether it is 1,000 people or 500 people. Today we are at close to about 1,000 people across segments. It's not just interiors. We have our architectural firm, and then we have a construction firm. Each one is dedicatedly taking care of a certain verticals, and Interio Rabbit is my brainchild. So I've nurtured this from the last 7 years, and it took me a lot of time to bring it to the place it is today. So the teams will keep expanding.
Right.
That is the only way forward, per
Correct.
se, for the kind of work that we have been doing. But that integrity will remain the same.
Very important. Yeah.
Very important. So that is what is the foundation for this brand. So a lot of people told, what does Rabbit got to do with interiors and things like that. You want things quickly, especially in this kind of an environment. There are a lot of restrictions, and especially even in your house, we were not allowed to work from 2 to
2 to
4,
4.
but you had to vacate your rental unit and move to your own house.
Correct.
There is a lot of pressure mounting on you when it comes to timelines and things like that. Having a modular factory does not ensure that your work is getting completed on time.
Correct.
But having a process in place will give you the surety that at least 90% I'm going to get my house on time. Because you actually got involved in terms of the production, material selections, product delivery timelines. You were
Yeah, yeah.
informed about each and every product and the delivery timelines. For example, if there is a certain element which was not available in stock and had to be ordered, you were informed about it
Correct.
the minute you asked.
Yeah, yeah.
And certain appliances, we did a lot of comparison. I gave you a best price when it came to other vendors offering the same product.
True.
And the other thing is, I don't see a point in keeping a cut in those small elements and blowing up your bill, because it is not going to make sense, and you are also not going to enjoy that kind of an experience. Rather be transparent, tell you that, sir, you're getting this cup at 10 rupees. I can get you that cup at 8 rupees. You will be more happy. The 2 rupees is not going to dent my pocket at all.
Correct.
And I'm not even interested in that kind of, profit making mechanism.
Yeah. I mean, that takes you away from your
Rather,
objective.
you give me another client for 10 rupees.
Yeah.
I'll take 1 rupee out of him. I'll be more happy.
Yeah.
That person will give me another 2 clients. I believe in that kind of a model, rather than telling you, sir, this cup is 10 rupees. The vendor also is giving it to me at 10 rupees. And then tell him that you give me a 2 rupees cut after you pay him is not great.
No, and I think that's where, it's very important for, the client eventually to feel very happy with the end product,
Exactly.
right? Uh, I will tell you that, the earlier architect that I dealt with,
Okay.
uh, I have no interaction with him.
Oh.
Yeah, because of this very point that you mentioned.
Huh.
I just felt at every point, it was a very, it the creativity went out of the window, and it became an extremely
Commercial.
financial, commercial interaction, and it was almost transactional
Mm.
after a point, and that led to a very bad taste in the mouth, right? And we just kind of, I told myself, once this project is over, I'm not going to deal with this guy. In your case, I wrote you a message as well, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah. I was
I'm
so
really
glad
looking
to.
forward to
Yeah,
seeing you, you know uh,
yeah.
and showing.
That actually made my day, by the way. I mean, that
No, I mean,
message
I
actually
meant
meant a
it.
lot to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is, in a way, it sums up, um, you know it's like a nice dessert that you have,
Yeah.
which you want to taste
Yeah.
again and again,
Again and
right?
again. I'm glad.
So for me, that is what is so important about a creative process, that you should want to uh, um, continue with that association and proudly brag about.
Yeah.
I would like to brag about you, that this is the guy who
Yeah.
did this project for me. You should.
I'm
uh,
sure, sir. I'm sure. I mean, boys, I mean, my team, myself, including yourself, I'm not saying that, your efforts don't matter. Your efforts actually matter a lot, because unless you open up on the things that you want and the way you want it. So, I always give my clients the example of going and buying clothes, right? So, you go to a designer boutique and you go to a ready made, retail store. The difference is that the boutique or bespoke designer is making something
Customizing it for you.
for
Yeah.
you, right? So your height, your size, all of this matters to us, and we are exactly of the same kind,
Correct.
right? So when I'm designing your house, you will not find the same thing in anybody else's house, because I've done that only for you,
Correct. Correct.
and it is based on your
Yeah.
preferences.
Yeah.
And if I am going to do a copy paste of your design on multiple apartments, then there is no value for creativity.
Exactly.
That value for creativity is lost, and most importantly, it will be just a copy paste thing. Right now, when I walk into your house, there is ample amount of positive vibes flowing into the house, and that is created by all of us,
Correct.
right? It's not just one person responsible for creating this kind of a house. And first of all, this is not a house, it's a home.
Correct.
It's more of a home than, even though it's an apartment, it's such a big complex. It's got so many thousands of apartments, and very uniquely designed when it comes to the end product. Right? A lot of people can give you a lot of designs. I mean, there is a lot of readily available designs online. We could have just copied that.
Correct.
Right? When I'm doing something for you, it's very personal to you.
Correct. Correct.
Right? So I will basically design and give you that bespoke, uh, what do you call, bespoke kind of a
Solution. Yeah.
solution
Yeah.
for the kind of ideas that you have,
Correct.
rather than telling you, sir, this is what it is. So we are not a catalog company per se,
Correct.
right? I'm not running a retail interior design brand. I'm not doing, I'm not showing you a catalog to ask you to select it from this catalog and paste it in your floor plan and sell it back to you.
Correct.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
Rather, we as a design firm insist on specifically designing something for you. It can be a mix of culture, it can be a single culture, it can be a fusion of cultures, or it can be something that is not ever done before. Like for example, there is a project that I did, again in North Bangalore, for a client who was into cinemas, and he actually liked to design his villa like a Scandinavian rustic home, very minimalistic, we basically got pine wood logs from Shivaji Nagar and basically treated in such a way that it could be, mounted on the ceiling with a certain amount of support and make sure that it gave you that, old Scandinavian home feel.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So that I cannot ask you also to do the same thing.
Correct.
Right? That is specific to that particular client. And we have designed that for him. And it needs a lot of skill, craftsmanship, and a lot of effort to do something like that. And we were able to achieve that. And he is also very happy. At the same time, that does not mean your vision of living in your house is very much same
Yeah,
to
yeah.
what he has.
It can't be a one size fits all. Solution.
Exactly, right? So that is what I think made a lot of difference.
I think so. Yeah. I think um, right from the beginning, in any creative process, it's very important to understand the needs of the client, understand what the client has appreciation for.
Right.
I mean, like you rightly said, I mean, for me, a Scandinavian looking home can make me feel a little kind of lonely,
Ah,
because I don't like, you know, while it looks nice, in my head, for me, a home should not, my home is not, let's say, is not a very scantily furnished
ha,
kind of a place.
right,
It's a place which exudes a lot of warmth
right,
for me in my head.
Correct.
That's why I like to use a lot of wood,
right.
a lot of woody kind of a
Correct,
look and
correct,
feel
correct. We had a big discussion on the woody
on
textures
the
as
woody
well.
textures
Yeah.
as well. Although maybe at the end I felt, have I kind of gone
Overdone
a little
the wood.
overboard as
Yeah.
far as the woodiness is concerned?
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. But
No, you have not. I mean,
yeah,
it basically blends with all the
Correct.
other fabrics and textures and your curtains and
Correct.
rest of the furniture.
Yeah.
The soft furnishing, the hard furnishing and the soft furnishing basically blends well.
complements each other.
Complements each other. The lighting also plays a very crucial role, and we were both very clear about using the yellow light,
Using the yellow light, yes.
right? So that actually brings in that kind of impact on the final product.
Yeah. So for me, that the warmth, I think you understood as a team the feeling of warmth that I wanted
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
my home.
Absolutely.
And also there is a lot of, I think there is a lot of Indianness
Yeah,
in the way I perceive my home.
there is. Absolutely. I mean, you've seen cultures across the country.
Yeah.
You've lived in Delhi. You're a Telugu Brahmin from Hyderabad.
Yes.
You've seen the cultures from Hyderabad. You've lived all your life in Delhi. And of course, you've traveled across the country to experience different cultures. And finally, you've chosen my city, Bangalore, to basically, settle down.
Settle down, yeah.
And this whole thing is, kind of that whole experiences of yours from different cultures has actually come into the house.
True.
And I like that fact.
Yeah.
And it's not single culture. You have traveled across the globe and basically brought in different cultures, and you have settled down right now with a certain, fusion of cultures.
Yeah.
Right? So it can be your mother. I've had great conversations with your mother because I'm also from the Andhra Pradesh background.
Right.
So I could connect so well with your
that
mother.
was another thing. I actually didn't know initially that you were a Telugu, but I think also that's what I'm saying. So although my wife had zero interaction with you, but my mother had a lot of interactions with you.
Of course.
I think though, I think it was very important for people at home to feel a certain sense of connection.
Right.
So I think these are some of the very important values
Right.
you brought to the table.
I'm so glad.
It is a very personal. At the end of the day, when you're making a home for someone, it's about making people who are going to reside in that house,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's the story we want to
Connecting
weave.
with those people.
Yeah. That's the story we want to weave.
Absolutely.
It should be memorable to you rather than, giving you a bitter experience.
Yeah.
We rather believe in giving you the best of the best experiences so that you come back to us the next time. And
And you can do that only if it is very important for
Yeah.
you. And I think as a team, those values are very important to you.
True.
That's why you make sure that you spend that time and you build those connections and you
Absolutely.
have those interactions.
Absolutely.
It helps you, kind of dive deep into your client's mind and understand
Yeah.
what they need.
Totally agreed, sir. And all of this again comes with experience.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of shortfalls. We've seen a lot of uninvited experiences, some things that was beyond our control. A lot of that, and now, again, when you look at my team, they may be less experienced, but that does not mean that they don't come with experience. They come with smaller experience, and people like me will basically mold them, groom them to get where I am today. So that, I mean, most of my boys have stayed with me. So yeah, you've seen my team. They're all young bunch of architects and engineers who are basically trying to make something in life, and they're hungry. By the way, they're really hungry and they want to achieve something in life. And the way this brand is growing is a reflection of what we do, right? So in that sense, there is a lot of a lot of things goes into the mixture.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And also, I think having people, I have a lot to sort of say good things to say about people who come with short, short-term experience or short span of experience. Because, and why I say that is because, they are also very receptive and flexible.
Right.
I mean, you can end up dealing with people who've got years of experience under the belt and who will always say that, they know everything and that's how it has to be.
And then those people won't be there in my team.
Exactly.
Like you must have spoken to Usman, my project head.
Yeah.
So he comes with 25 years of experience, but he would never show that
Interesting, yeah.
on anybody for that matter. It can be the client, though, no ways.
Yeah.
But even to the team, they love to work with Usman.
Yeah.
Like
I sense that also, yeah.
Yeah. So
I think there is a lot of, I mean, I don't know. I at some point, I started believing that maybe this is how, every it is easy for somebody to think that all projects generally go this well.
yeah.
They actually, I have experience, like I said, of
Yeah.
projects in the past which have not gone this well.
I wouldn't agree any lesser with you.
But I think this is a very cohesive bunch of people.
Nice. I'm glad it happened.
Team members who are, aligned with each other
Nice.
fully. And of course, very talented, hardworking set of people. No doubt about that. So yeah, all in all, I think a very
Great experience for both
absolutely.
of us. Yeah.
For me, no doubt about that. Very enjoyable, pleasurable experience.
Thank you so much. I mean,
Appreciate it.
I mean, lovely talking to you.
Yeah.
Again and again. Always great conversations. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.